Ariel Helwani in Las Vegas gearing up for UFC 137 alongside UFC President Dana White. And Dana, it's been 2 weeks since we've seen you, so the checklist has grown. I'm going to try to keep this under 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, good.
We've got this fascinating event on Saturday night for many reasons, and one of the interesting storylines going into this one obviously is Nick Diaz and the drama that has gone into his return to the UFC. And I'm wondering, it seems like, especially yesterday at the media workouts, he's very mellow, he's very open, he showed up on time, he was actually early yesterday, and I'm wondering if maybe you had a chat with him and talked to him about, just his career and quote-unquote playing the game, and maybe that's why he's acting this way in a positive sense.
I did not. The only thing, I haven't talked to Nick. Today was the first day that I saw him. I've been doing my own without following Nick around. He's a man, he can handle himself, and he's been, as professional as you could be this week. The things that I've been hearing from my staff, he missed his flight the day that he was supposed to come here, then was on the next flight out of LA or wherever he flew out of. And since he's been here, he's been early to everything. He's been a pleasure to work with.
Did you give him any kind of ultimatum that if he didn't play by the rules, that it's 3 strikes and you're out, so to speak?
The last time that Nick and I talked about the situation was, I was in LA a long time ago. It was right when I was making the BJ Penn fight, and I have not talked to him since. So we had that initial discussion about taking the BJ fight, and then why he didn't show up for the press conference and all that stuff, and that's it. Since then, he's been a home run.
It seems like both BJ and Nick were interested in making this fight a 5-rounder. Was that just talk, or were they both trying to sort of, play each other's hand and say, I'll up the ante if you up the ante, that kind of thing?
Yeah, what you guys hear and what goes on behind the scenes are two different things, Listen, if those guys both came to me and said, I want this to be a 5-rounder, I'll make it a 5-rounder. What difference does it make to me?
But they didn't.
But you know what you have to really seriously think about it and realize you train for a 3-round fight a certain way, you train for a 5-round fight a different way. So it's kind of unfair to spring 5-rounders on people.
And what's at stake for Nick in this fight? If he does win, is he still the number 1 contender, the guy who will face the winner of Condit GSP?
Yes.
What about BJ?
I don't know. We got to figure that out. We'll see what happens.
And how has it been with BJ? You had that issue about the countdown show. He said he asked for a little more money to make it 5 rounds. How are things between you and BJ? It's been an interesting road throughout his career.
I was just going to say, I thought you were going to say throughout this fight, it's been an interesting road, for 10 years with BJ. It is what it is. We're still here. We're still working together, and whatever.
Do you like him better at 155 or 170?
I think BJ Penn is a beast at either, man. When BJ, that's what I love about this fight on Saturday. You know how these two are when they walk out to the octagon. They're both going to be fired up when they get in there, staring across at each other, and when that fight starts, both guys are going to go after it and go for the finish.
When you saw Matt Mitrione on The Ultimate Fighter, this guy coming out of the NFL 0-0, did you think that he could actually be this good? Because he has a ton of potential, and I think we haven't really scratched the surface with him just yet.
I agree with you 100%, and the answer is absolutely not. When he was on The Ultimate Fighter, I thought he was a nutso. He was saying crazy stuff during the show, and, I love the guy that he's turned out to be, man. The person and the fighter. He's fun in interviews. He's fun at press conferences. He's fun to hang out with outside of the, all the and he is absolutely fun to watch in the octagon. That guy goes in to fight.
Speaking of heavyweight personalities, an interesting one between Roy Nelson and Cro Cop. I just want to get your take on Cro Cop first, and some of the things he said in the press conference and leading up to this fight, how he will personally apologize to you if he loses, and he feels though he's been treated like a king and he hasn't really lived up to his end of the bargain. He seems to be very reflective and very open with his thoughts. This is a guy who hasn't been like that for a very long time. What do you make of his whole demeanor now?
Well, I was blown away by him here at the press conference today. I thought it was awesome, man. The stuff that, the thing that I respect the most about Cro Cop is he's a warrior, man. To hear him sit here and say today that he'll never forgive himself for his performances that he's had in the UFC, I think you have to look and you have to understand, which I do, and I don't know if a lot of other people do or if the fighters themselves do, when you start to get 36, 37, 38 years old, yes, mixed martial arts is a sport where people can compete in it longer, but this is a young man's game. And when you're still competing at that level, look at Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is 36 years old, you know what I mean? And when you're still competing at that level in this sport, it's awesome. And to hear Cro Cop say that stuff, he's a guy whom I respect and a guy whom I admire. So, and millions of people do all over the world. So, I'd love to see him have a great showing on Saturday night.
What does your gut tell you? Is this the end for him, win or lose on Saturday?
That's what he said. He said, if I win or lose, it's probably my last fight. But the probably is the key word. It's when you have a guy who is a warrior the way that Cro Cop is, and you get that win, it's kind of tough to walk away when you got the win. So we'll see how it goes and how he handles it. I'm curious and excited to see how he fights on Saturday night and what happens after.
And on the flip side, you've got Roy Nelson, who you were very critical of after his last fight against Frank Mir, talking about how he needs to lose some weight, just take things a little more seriously. What do you make of him now? He's coming with the crazy hair, the crazy beard. He's wearing a suit. We don't really know what's going on under the suit, but are you happy with the changes he's made to himself?
Yeah, the thing that I said about Roy Nelson was, if you're this talented, at this weight and the way that you train and everything else, imagine how talented you'd be if you really gave this thing a shot and really went after it and took yourself seriously. The fat thing was funny for a minute, but you're hanging in there with some of the best in the world. You got a great chin, great well-rounded guy. I can take it seriously. If you lose, if the guy lost 25 pounds, how much faster he'd be, how much more explosive he'd be, how better his stamina would be. So we'll see what happens Saturday.
So you don't think he takes his career seriously?
No, I don't think he did before. No, I really don't think he did. Like I said, the whole rubbing the belly thing and being overweight and all that stuff is funny for a minute. But if you really want to get to that level and possibly, get a title shot and be considered one of the top 3 heavyweights in the world, look at how hard these guys train and how hard they diet and the things that they do. He's been coasting. He's been, eating whatever the hell he wants to eat, getting as big as he wants to get, training in his living room at home. Yeah, it's like, no, I don't think he took it seriously.
Sunday night you tweeted a smiley face, an emoticon. Why?
There's some good stuff going on, man. Some good stuff
You can't
going
just
on.
do that and not tell us at least.
It's very rare that I get a moment where I'm like, yay, I'm happy today. What a great day today is. And that was one of them. So you guys will all see soon. I'm working on some stuff. It's been crazy, man. As busy as we've talked about how busy I've been over the last 10 years, the last 2 months of my life and the next 3, it's beyond explanation. It's crazy, but good stuff.
And then yesterday you said you were in New York and you had some other good stuff that was going on there. Care to share?
I met with Showtime yesterday, and I had a great meeting with him.
Usually Lorenzo meets with Showtime. Why did you go this time?
I'm jumping in.
You're the new sheriff in town. What happened? You kicked him out? You didn't like what he was doing?
No, there's, the way that it works is, and I've explained this before, is Lorenzo and I divide and conquer. We're both so busy and we're working on so much stuff. And I think to sort of get this deal moving, you needed the kinder, gentler side of the UFC in there first to get this thing going. And now I'm going to go in there and close it.
So you're the closer.
Apparently.
And what is the deal? What happened yesterday?
We sat down in a room and we talked, and I think that we had a great conversation. I think that we moved the ball forward, and we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. There's no deal done. There's nothing done. I just think we had a great meeting yesterday.
So this means there's a chance. A lot of people thought Strikeforce was on its last legs. There's a chance that Strikeforce may continue, or maybe a UFC Showtime deal, or is that not even possible?
No, we're exclusive with Fox, but yeah, there's a chance that Strikeforce lives.
And I have to ask, the fact that Ken Hirschman left to HBO, did that make things easier? Is that why you came in?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Without digging all that stuff up and going back into it, this guy's he's not a deal maker, man. Guy thinks he's smarter than he is, and he blew a massive deal over at CBS. He's a deal blower.
Final question. Big news. It's related to you with Viacom purchasing Bellator. Does this surprise you at all?
No, I knew it. It's news to you guys.
Right.
It's not news.
What'd you tell us?
Yeah, it's not news to me. I've known it for a long time, and yeah.
Do you think that this makes them not a legitimate threat, but more competitive than they were?
When you guys say, I love what you guys say. Are these guys a legitimate threat? A threat to what? Like they're going to kill us? Like they're going to threaten in what way?
But do you have to now keep them more on your radar because Viacom is not some mom and pop?
Yeah, exactly. No, now we're the mom and pops, right?
Right.
Now we're the mom and pops. Viacom's sitting on $5 billion in cash, so yeah, they're not hurting for any money. They're listen, it's good for them. Good for them. I'm not looking at them. Oh my God, these guys are a huge threat. You guys were so out of your minds. You, them,
Right, okay.
all them out here, and some of these fans are nuts. You're nuts. Okay?
I didn't say they were a threat. I was asking you if you thought.
I'm not even saying that they're a threat. You guys get all nutty like oh, this is the next thing. They're coming up. They're coming, and like companies that we've bought. Oh, they went in and they took them out. These companies that folded, they went out of business. They went out of business. They lost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And when you're losing that kind of money in this economy, you want to get the hell out of that business as quick as you can. Okay? That's what's happened in the past with these other organizations. And when you look at somebody getting on television, they were all on television. All those guys had television deals. I mean, even if you look at these guys now that just did the deal with, they were on Fox, they were on ESPN, they were on NBC. They've been everywhere. Just because you get on TV doesn't mean it's going to make you successful or something. These guys got to get in there now and they got to run their business. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful either. But you guys always love to come and go, they're this and they're the new this and they're the threat and they're this. It's crazy.
On the flip side, does it prove that maybe all the people who are saying the UFC is a monopoly, it's not really true because Viacom just bought a company that was, all intents and purposes, doing pretty well?
The people who have said that the UFC is a monopoly are morons. It's the most ridiculous statement in the history of it. It's so stupid. First of all these other organizations have been on some form of television. And if you look at the landscape out there right now, you've got Viacom, Fox, Comcast, who else am I forgetting? There's another one out there. Another CBS, Viacom, and somebody else.
CBS Showtime.
All these guys are in the MMA business one way or another. You got Hirschman, who just went to HBO, who's been involved in MMA. All these guys are into MMA, and all these people are into it. Anyway, yes. If you thought that we were a monopoly before, if you were that stupid, okay, if you're that much of a moron and you don't know what the term monopoly means and you thought that we were one, well then what are we now? I mean, what are we now? Viacom is in the business. They sit on $5 billion in cash. We're now the mom and pops. All right? We're not sitting on $5 billion in cash, I can tell you that.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. UFC 137 goes down Saturday night right here in Las Vegas. Nick Diaz making his return to the UFC against BJ Penn. Also, Matt Mitrione versus Czech Congo. I like being in Brooklyn. As a Brooklyn guy, we're in Brooklyn. This feels very good. Let's get this done sooner rather than later. New York.
Exactly.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks.